Welcome once again to Lehto's Law. Here's Steve Lehto.
I've mentioned before that I drove a tow truck right out of high school for a gas station. It was near my house, and we also used to tow a lot of vehicles that were damaged in accidents for the local police department. And you have to learn about the cars that are on the road at the time, how to tow them. So for instance, if you're going to pick a vehicle by the back end and drag it on its front wheels, and it's not front wheel drive, you got to make sure that the wheels are straight and that the column is locked. If you're driving a vehicle that was sold, the column wasn't locked, you had a problem. I remember on occasion coming out to a place where there was a vehicle that was mashed and had to be towed on the front wheels. Column wouldn't lock, and I remember taking my belt off, putting it around the wheel, putting it to the door, and closing the door on it in such a way that it would hold the steering wheel, and then driving very carefully back to the gas station. Also, other situations about whether the vehicle's in gear or not, because we didn't have a flatbed. We had to actually drag the vehicles partially still on the ground, on their wheels. So you got to learn this stuff. So a crazy story Robert sent me from autoevolution.com, towing a Ford Mustang Mach-E could cost you $28,000 for a battery replacement. And this is the kind of thing that you need to learn about if you're going to be driving a tow truck and towing vehicles. Is there anything unusual about this kind of a vehicle that means you have to tow it differently? And apparently there is. So Christian Agati wrote this story for autoevolution.com. Electric vehicles are still a novel thing, and this could lead to ridiculous situations. A Ford Mustang Mach-E owner was left with a $28,000 repair bill after the towing company hooked up his car in the wrong place, destroying the battery. That's the allegation. Now, I can tell you that most vehicles, if you go to the owner's manual, will actually have a section in there that says where you jack the car up, for instance, like jacking points. But towing points, not necessarily. But that's the kind of thing, again, that somebody should know they're driving a tow truck. You'd think car makers know a thing or two about the vehicles they build, but this is not always the case. This trickles down the network of dealers and emergency services, so EV owners face a potential disaster, which is something a Ford Mustang Mach-E owner learned firsthand after his car refused to drive with a dash warning saying, "Pull over safely." So he got the warning, says, "Pull over, pull over." The idiot lights are not telling you what to do. He called Ford roadside assistance, and a tow truck was dispatched to take the electric crossover to the nearest Ford dealer for troubleshooting. So he called Ford roadside assistance for assistance at the roadside with his Ford. Unfortunately, the wrong towing procedure resulted in the car's battery being damaged. According to the owner, the crossover was hooked up incorrectly by the battery rail, which caused the cooling system to leak. The result was a $28,000 repair. Now, no one apparently wants to take responsibility for this. So it's an expensive mistake. The owner notes the dealer he was towed to had never worked on an electric vehicle as far as they knew. So I'm not sure how many Ford Mach-E's are out there right now and how many dealers have sold them, but the owner wrote this on the Mach-E forum. The tow company hooked into the battery rail and damaged the batteries. $28,000 repair bill. Now, Ford customer care tells me I have to deal with the claims for the roadside assistance because that's not Ford. But they must be a contractor for Ford because he didn't call them, he called Ford. And if he calls Ford and that's who shows up, that should be on Ford. But they deny the claim because they say it can't be proven it was the tow company's fault. This could have happened when the car was transported earlier, apparently to the dealership to be sold. Ford says it's not their fault, and my insurance company says it's not claimable through them, writes the owner. Now, here's the thing. A lot of times people are in these situations, and I get calls about this frequently as well, where something happens to a vehicle and it gets damaged, and no one will own up to it. And unfortunately, it often takes a lawsuit to drag all the parties in and let them litigate amongst themselves. And sometimes you can file a claim with your insurance company and let them sort it out. But if his insurance company is saying it's not claimable, I wonder if the guy actually filed a claim or simply called somebody and said, "Hey, what do you think of this?" And they said, "Don't bother." I've had people tell me that they were told that, but then when they filed a claim, the tune changed. So this is not the first time a Ford Mustang Mach-E needs a battery replacement after it's been towed. Another similar story popped up after the vehicle's low-voltage battery went dead. In that case, the towing company's insurance covered the damaged battery replacement bill. The things did not go smoothly, though, and the guy had to wait months before a Ford dealer replaced the battery in the vehicle. And this is the kind of thing that I guess if you are calling a tow truck on your vehicle and there's something unusual about your vehicle, you might want to take some photographs of your vehicle while you're waiting for the tow truck to show up. And then you might want to pay attention to how the guy hooks the vehicle up and watch him and possibly take pictures of that too. And I know that, if I was a tow truck driver and somebody's photographing me as I was doing my work, it might bug me a little bit. But if I was doing my job correctly, I guess I wouldn't mind. So, like any other car, the Ford Mustang Mach-E has designated winch points to help get it onto the trailer. So all vehicles risk damage when incorrectly towed. But in the case of an EV, though, the risk is destroying the battery, which is the most expensive component in the vehicle. The manual is clear about the towing and lift points, and the emergency services commissioned by Ford should have known this, only they didn't. So according to this, the manual actually includes not just the lift points, but also the towing points. And so if that's true, and again, I've not looked at the owner's manual for my most recent Ford Explorer to see if it has towing points listed in there or not. Maybe it does. Is that when you're sitting at the side of the road waiting for the tow truck, you got nothing better to do. You ain't got the owner's manual, and take a look at it and see if it lists the jacking points and the towing points, because then you can watch the work being done and see if it's being done correctly. I remember when I worked at the gas station, another person who worked there who did towing, I wasn't the only person who drove a tow truck there, had brought a vehicle in, and he had towed it on the rear wheels, but he lifted it up using a sling, and there were hooks with chains on them that you would reach underneath the vehicle and you hook the chains on. And in this case, the other guy had put a hook right through a boot on a vehicle that was a front-wheel drive vehicle. And it was a boot around, I don't know, it was a CVJ or something, but it was a boot around something. And he put the hook right through the boot. And I remember when the vehicle got brought in and dropped off, you could see something leaking up front. I remember looking underneath there and realizing that that's what the guy had done. So there's a lot of ways to damage vehicles when you're towing them. In that case, they got away with it, referring to the guy at the gas station I worked at, because that vehicle had been in an accident, and there's so much damage done that I think that boot got replaced as part of the damage from the accident, even though it's actually post-damage, post-accident damage. But that's a long time ago, my friends. So here we go. Towing a Ford Mustang Mach-E is something, if you've got one, you should be aware of. But also, pretty much, I would guess, any electric car. Probably you got to be a little careful about this kind of stuff. And so look at the owner's manual, see if it lists the particular ways vehicles can be towed properly. And if you're ever there when they're picking your vehicle up, make sure to do it correctly, because otherwise you might wind up in a fight like this. So the story is from autoevolution.com. Robert sent it. Thanks a lot. Christian Agati wrote it. Towing a Ford Mustang Mach-E could cost you $28,000 to replace the battery. Questions or comments, put them below. Let's talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching Lehto's Law. Is being an idiot like being high all the time?